Hello and welcome to Creating Heaven on Earth, ascending from the 3D to the 5D. You are here with Mandee Elam, and each week on most Saturdays, I like to host a discussion with a special way shower or light worker to talk about what's going on right now and how we're transitioning into this new Earth that we're all dreaming about, what we as individuals can do to assist in the collective ascension. And I just always like to hold this space. So today I'm really excited to welcome my friend and healing artist, Marion. Hey, Marion, how are you today?
I am good. Hello. Thank you so much for inviting me on your show.
I'm so excited to hold space with you. I met Marion a few months ago in a sister circle on Zoom, and I just felt your magic right away, and I've been following you ever since. And you just have like the dopest artwork and the most amazing, effective light language. I've experienced a lot of light language. Every time I tune into yours, it just sends me off into another space. And it's pure magic. So I'm just so grateful for you showing up and sharing your light in the world. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Yeah, I was really stoked. I think it was in December, actually, when we met. And I remember we had made intentions, for 2020, and mine was for collaboration. And let me tell you, those intentions, when you set them, if you feel it in your heart, not only your mind, and you create action around it, it's amazing the things that will happen. So everything has really launched since December, for sure.
Oh, man, I love it. So currently you are a Reiki practitioner, right? And a light language practitioner, though I don't think that's an official title. I'm kind of creating one.
Yeah. So I became a Reiki practitioner quite some years ago, and then I became a master and a teacher. And yes, and I did actually take a light language practitioner's course in October, November, and which I didn't even know that was even a thing. At the time, I was like, wait a minute, you mean I can use my light language? I can say that, and so I did take a 6-week intensive with Jamie Price, and and it was, and I did it with a bunch of other fellow light language people that I had met in Sedona in September of last year for a light language retreat kind of thing. And so we all took that journey together. And I've been incorporating light language movement and speaking and singing in my Reiki practice. So I've been combining the two. And I was actually, I think, doing that before, but I just wasn't aware that I was actually doing light language. But I do remember, when I began my Reiki journey, seeing symbols and drawing symbols that were not in my books. So that's how that kind of all began.
Oh, beautiful. Well, let's do that. Let's take a minute and take a step back and maybe talk a little bit about your journey and how you got to Sedona and all the cool places this year. Wherever you'd like, whatever you want to share with us.
So it was probably, we'll start kind of with the light language thing, because the Reiki journey began in 2013, and but the light language actually thing began in 2018, I think, and I was friends with someone on Facebook. I came across a video that she had posted, and she said something about light language, and I was like, what? And there I am at work, on a break, and I press play, and all of a sudden, she's speaking this language, and it is energetically hitting me. I backed up against the wall at work because it lit everything on fire in me. And I was like, what is this? Why does this sound so familiar? And from there, it kind of just escalated. I began speaking it. And at first I had to do lots of practicing by myself. I was very self-conscious about it at first. And then I slowly but surely, I was a part of a group at that time, and I slowly but surely started sharing that with them. And it kind of, it kind of grew from there. It went in from speaking to drawing it to, and then the drawing part of it, I actually remember doodling those symbols when I was a kid, and even my mom actually doodled these symbols. And so it was probably about almost a year into the process of, allowing the language to really, there were deeper levels of healing that needed to occur within me, and light language went deeper. And I needed that first year to just integrate the amount of light that was coming into my body, and the amount of healing that was occurring when I was speaking the language. And it roto-rooted through my body, and it lifted this veil for me and allowed me to have this freedom that I hadn't felt, in a very long time. And it was that, speaking a language that isn't really, known here, there's a part of you that has to free your mind in order to let this stuff flow out. You kind of have to set the logical mind aside, and you have to really go with your heart. And it was that freedom of, like, when I was a kid, that creativity, the imagination, believing in unicorns, kind of thing, and allowing that magic to flow through my mouth and flow through my heart and flow through my hands. And so that first year was about me, healing and allowing this stuff to kind of flow through and to get used to what was happening. And everyone around me was, like, fascinated, about, like, what is happening to you, and even my mom, was like, whoa, and it wasn't until some point somebody had sent me a link to Jamie Price, and I was like, who is this Jamie Price person, and, you need to read her book. And so I ordered the book, and next thing I know, there's this opportunity to go to one of her retreats. I'm like, well, I'm already doing the light language thing. I need to be around more people that are into what into this. I need to, because I kind of felt alone almost in the journey. But I knew I wasn't, because when I started researching and looking, what is light language? What is this? What is this? What is this? And I had found, a few things here and there, and I realized, like, this isn't something that's very well, known, So I took the leap, and I got my ticket for Sedona. And I had never been to Sedona, and I asked my mom, I said, hey, you want to come with me? And my mom was like, absolutely. My mom has always been a very, very, very supportive person in my life. And I know a lot of people don't always have the best relationship with their parents, but my mom and I, have this very close relationship. It wasn't always like that, but because of, my healing journey, Reiki, light language, and all these things, the two of us together were able to, like, really repair our relationship. And so it was like, all right, we're going to Sedona. And I, about a month before I went, I took myself off of social media. I was going through some stuff, and I really needed to reflect and go in and heal a little bit more. And the next thing I know, it was coming up, and we were going to Sedona. And over the next, over those 3 days, I, right away, like, felt, me and 49 other people, connected. And and then we connected with, Jamie Price. And it was this, like, sense of, I'm no longer, it's not just me, it's all of these people, and watching her, teach us, to be, open and to just all the things that she was talking about, even her own story, I saw myself, like how I opened myself up to light language, how I basically, I kind of taught myself everything she was teaching. And it was this really amazing, like synchronistic thing, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the same, like what she's describing is the same journey that I had. And so I ended up meeting, well, we all, everyone, but I ended up really connecting, with a group of people, with a core group of people there, and who I'm all still connected with now. And it was so empowering. Light language gave me my empowerment, my power, my creativity. I mean, it opened me up in ways I never thought would happen. And the love, the support, I became, it was like, I felt like almost, fearless. And after, we had come back, I felt so comfortable, so like, oh man, I can take this journey and I can help people. And, and I want to expose others to this, and I want people to open up to this language, and I ended up, doing the course afterwards and connecting even deeper with, with the people I had met in Sedona. And, my writing of the light language just, I was already writing it, but it did really, really, it was just like coming through, blasting through me. And I grew up as an artist, I was an artist as a kid. And so I knew how to draw, I knew how to do all those things, and, but what started happening was all of a sudden I would get these images in my head, and they were like, okay, my team, or whatever that is around me all the time was kind of like, okay, this is the image. And this is, and so I would kind of contemplate the image, and then like, okay, you're this is the piece that you're going to work around. And so how I do my pieces is I do it through automatic writing. So it comes through really fast. And I have to say, I had to teach myself how to do automatic writing, because it was not something that actually wanted to come through me naturally. But, I took a couple months, of practicing how to do, how to just let my hand, without controlling it, and allow the codes to come through. And that was a whole process in itself.
I can imagine.
And so, oh yeah, it was
That's trust. That's like such trust.
Oh, to close your eyes and to put a pen in your hand and to allow whatever comes through to come through. It was at first, I have some of my first ones that I did, and it looked really, I was still trying to control too much. I was still trying to control what was coming, onto the paper. So I really had to, I couldn't, I couldn't look at it. I had to just let it flow. And once I got, kind of worked through that block, it just wouldn't stop coming. It was like, page after page after page after page. And I just allowed it to flow, and I didn't try to stop it. And how I can tell when it wants to come through too is my right hand, because I'm right-handed. My thumb actually starts doing this twitching thing, and I'm like, oh, it's time. It's time to do this. So yeah, it's like my body like knows. It's like, okay, it's
I'm glad you're bringing attention to that, because we keep talking about how incredible and psychic our bodies are, and we want to control them so much, but sometimes we need to allow them to show us certain things. So that's in alignment with a lot of stuff we've been talking about on this network. So I'm really glad you're bringing attention to that.
Oh, yeah. It's if you pay attention to your, to the signs and the signals within your own body, it'll tell you everything that you need to know. I can even feel it, like if my eyes start, doing some crazy twitchy thing, it's like, oh, okay, something around me is, something has entered into my field. something needs me to, because I can do that thing, where a lot of us Reiki, practitioners, even people in general, can send healing through their eyes. And so a lot of times my eyes will let me know, like, okay, pay attention, and, just like with the hand, it's like, okay, it's time. And then I can also feel it too, like in my heart center, when it's time to, speak about some stuff or, bring through a transmission. It's my whole body reacts to it. My whole body lets me know, what's happening. And then even as I'm speaking, light language, I will do movement and I let my body free flow because it's my hands and my arms and the energy's directing me. And I'm, kind of set aside and allowing that energy to flow through my body and do the movements. And that in itself was something I had to work through too, because, we want to kind of control, the movements of our body sometimes. But, if you were just to let your body flow in the movement, what would it do? What would it create? Are you moving energy? Are you, what are you not allowing your body to do? So that was the thing is, for me with the light language, it was that it gave me freedom. It gave me freedom to flow. I paid attention to my body more, all those things. So, this whole thing was a very important, pivotal thing for me to go through this journey, and to allow that creativity to open back up, and get that sense of what I had when I was a kid. Because, when we're kids, we're so open. To all the possibilities.
That's like our biggest bridge to the 5D is, our inner child and our creative imagination, which we've been you brought attention to that. We've been so taught to control, even, as a kindergartner in school, sitting still, like we've been so taught to control everything, whether it's our emotions or our movements, or our thought patterns, that I feel like that's the true bridge between getting, where we are now into the new earth.
Oh yeah. Well, that's absolutely. I had to do a lot of inner child work, to really get to this point as well. Like I look back on like what was happening even a couple of years ago, even like 6 or 7 years ago. And the work that I was doing then was setting me up for what is happening right now, not only to me, but to the collective. And I think that, healing that inner child and making friends with my inner child again was something that needed to happen in order for me to have the creativity and the freedom that was flowing. I was blocked. I felt like I had this like artist block for a very long time. And I had attempted to try to, break through that creativity, and it wasn't working. And it was like, okay, well, what do I need to pay attention to here? It was like, okay, well, we need to do this healing of our, what it was like when we were kids. We need to get back to that point. So here I am in this adult body, with this adult mind, all these things. And I, spent so much time like, in control. And I had attempted to control everything inside of me for a very long time. And it was like, okay, well, we need to get back to the freedom of when you were a child, and we need to tap back into that creativity. And you need to let things flow. It was like, oh, okay. So I had to kind of surrender to this process,
Yeah. And unlearn so much just to get to that place. Or at least so many, confines that our belief system created, and then allow yourself. I really feel, and I say that often on this show, that like another difference between the 3D and the 5D is simply like the 5D, your beliefs can be limitless. Whereas in the 3D, there's limits on everything, and it keeps us bound.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're a kid, you believe in all the things, that's what it is. And then as an adult, you no longer believe in the things, and then, where I'm at now, it's like, I have felt the energies of all the things that I felt when I was a kid, and they're very, very real to me, and, working with the energy of, elementals and fae and, all those, magical creatures, that as a kid, it was like, oh, I had so much fun with. And then as an adult, You know, it was kind of like, oh, well, that's just pretend, you know. And I mean, I never really let go. I mean, I always believed in unicorns and Pegasus, you know, whatever. And I love dragons, and I never really let go of that love. But like, I didn't really, you know, I kind of had like kind of set it to the side, you know, and so I never really abandoned it, but I kind of ignored it, you know, for a long time. So getting back to it, it was this process, and it took me a couple years to get back into that flow of, you know, of being a kid again, you know, but also being an adult at the same time. And there is a lot that you do have to let go of, and it's hard for people. And when you let go of those things, you have to cry, and you know, you get frustrated, and you want to beat yourself up. And, you know, but a lot of this for me was about forgiveness and forgiving myself. And, you know, it was one of the things that would happen when I would bring the language through for my light language through for myself. I realized there was a lot of you know, of self-love that needed to come in, and a lot of, you know, just remembering, you know, all the stuff that's within me. And a lot of those memories, like I had a lot of stuff that came up that I had totally forgotten, and I needed to address it. And so, I mean, it was a really incredible journey to take. And even now, you know, it's still, and there's more shall be revealed, as they say, you know.
That's my favorite prayer every day. I'm like, that which I need to know, please reveal to me. Because there's so much, you know, and you can get lost in the rabbit holes, and sometimes that's fun, but sometimes it's nice just to be present and allow that flow in. And this is for all of our listeners listening too, you know, if you just set an intention each day to reveal that which you need to know, it can lead you on a path of magic.
Oh, well, that was kind of how, you know, even with this, you know, this journey into the light language thing, it was kind of like, well, what do I need to know, and being present. And every day, if you pay attention, you are constantly being left breadcrumbs, and it's just up to you which way you want to go with it. And that was kind of like, you know, if I'm like, okay, well, what do I need to do today, or where I need to be present, but like, you know, what's the next step? And if I just follow these signs and these synchronicities, and I pay attention, because it's almost like my inner child comes out and is like, wants to play, and it's like, okay, I'm going to leave you this here, this here, this here, this here, you know. And then it's like, if I kind of like follow that flow, it's like amazing what will happen. And then every day it's like, you know, I'm accomplishing, you know, these things every day if I just kind of like go with the flow and follow follow the signs and go with the synchronicity of it, you know. And I don't know, I think it's a lot of people have forgotten how to pay attention, you know, to all that stuff. And
you know, how could we have stood a chance with our society and what we've created and all of the technological advances and instant gratification, and like, you know, you don't have to wait for anything anymore, practically. So it's a challenge, I think, and I think it's beautiful that you are able to do that, and that's something so many people are working on right now. It's not an easy thing, sister.
Oh no, I mean, I think what, you know, when I started, like, you know, healing, you know, the things in me that needed to be healed. And I thought I had gone really deep, you know, I thought I'd done all that I needed to do. And then, you know, even with the Reiki, you know, I'd healed myself, I'd done all these things. And then the light language came in, and that went even deeper. And then I started reading the Gene Keys. And I went through that process.
Our friend Jamie was on a few weeks ago telling our listeners all about the Gene Keys. I haven't really explored it too much yet, but each thing that I do start checking out, I'm like, wow, this is awesome.
Jamie and I nerd out over the Gene Key stuff all of the time. And I actually have even done some light language pieces around the Gene Keys. And I did my own, one of my Venus sequence, which is the love sequence. And I even did a whole light language thing around that. But yeah, the Gene Keys is really interesting. Richard Rudd is who wrote that book, and you can go to his website and, you know, put your birth date in, and it'll give you, you know, your sequence. And what you do is you go through the book and you kind of read each Gene Key, and then within the key itself, there's like 3 phases to it. There's the shadow. And then there's the city, and then it's the shadow, the gift, and the city, I think. And that process was, you know, I had started it, and then I needed to take a break for a while, and then I picked it back up. I mean, because the whole book itself to me felt very encoded. I mean, you're reading each of these keys, and it's just like these insights and I could see, like, oh my gosh, like, you know, this is what I've had inside of me, you know, this whole time. It was taking me back to when I was a kid and taking me to these moments of like where I had, you know, these shadow aspects of myself. But then it also gave me encouragement because I was seeing like the gift in all of that. And then I was even seeing some of myself in the city of it, which is, you know, when you kind of have worked through the shadow and you've come out the other side, you know, there's this enlightenment, I guess, kind of that happens with it. And it really helped me recognize a lot of patterns within myself. And so, I mean, even that journey alone in the Gene Keys really healed me even further. I mean, and so now when I tell people, like, I'm no longer the wounded healer, because so many healers are wounded, right?
Yeah, you know, and it's almost like an initiation. You know, we come into this world, and my business partner, Jenny, McDaniel, who is the co-founder of this beautiful network, she and I have looked at this a lot, you know, and she taught me, and then my guides really confirmed with me that when we're up in the non-physical, we really get to choose the time-space continuum that we choose to come into, the place and the womb we come out of. And I want to definitely give some more Mother's Day love here towards the end of our show. But, you know, we pick all of these certain things for a reason, and, you know, and we, I think, choose a lot of these wounds in order to help, you know, not only heal ourselves and ascend in our spiritual journey, but like you said earlier, you know, bridge that healing to the collective. And a lot of us went through it a little bit, you know, before other people, and now we're going to be able to offer a hand and, you know, explain, hey, you know, this is the space I went through. All I can do is teach from my perspective, but, you know, I can hold the space for you and shine a little light and let you know you're not alone.
Yeah, you know, I went through a really dark time in my life especially in my late 20s, early 30s. I mean, it was pretty dark. I mean, I would say it was after a near-death experience, and it was definitely a dark soul, like dark night of the soul kind of thing, you know, and it brought, I mean, I faced the darkest parts of myself, you know, and it brought all the stuff, you know, and it was, I mean, I am very proud of myself for surviving what I went through, because I was facing every deepest, darkest fear that I had ever had. And I see why I needed to have the near death in order to die and be reborn. And I saw that was the only way that everything was going to shift, you know, and that was when I was, you know, 28, 29. And
that's a pivotal time typically for the dark night of the soul. We always hear that with like the 27 club or like your late 20s, early 30s. There tends to be a lot for really a lot of the healers I know, at least. That seems to be like a pivotal time of the dark night of the soul. And I'm really grateful that you were able to handle it and come through it.
Oh yeah. I mean, it only lasted for a couple of years, which, you know, was good. But I understand, like, no part of that journey, you know, when I first got, you know, kind of came out of it, I was definitely angry and I was very hurt. And, but it also, you know, I realized I needed to go through it. I needed to have those experiences in order to get me to where I am right now in this moment. I also knew that in order for me to help other people, I needed to experience what the vast majority of the people that I'm surrounded by go through. And, you know, and it did involve addiction. It involved, you know, drugs and alcohol. And so, you know, and a lot of people, you know, that I have been around, including my mom is actually a person who, you know, has been sober for over 30 years. You know, I grew up in that. And yeah, I mean, my mom is one of the most amazing people in the world to me. And, you know, and she got sober when I was a little kid. So, you know, I was kind of in, you know, in and around all that stuff. And it turned out like, you know, even though I had grown up and all that, I still found myself turning to, you know, these other things in order to cope with how I was feeling, you know? So yeah, that journey into that dark night of the soul was like, oh, I mean, it was crippling, you know, and I see I needed to, you know, I see why that all came up. And then I found Reiki, and it was like, okay, now it's time to heal myself. Now is the time to really dig deep into the soul. And I wasn't only just healing myself, I was also healing my lineage, you know, my family. I was healing my mom. I was healing my mom's mom, and then my dad and my dad's mom. You know, I was healing all these. I mean, I came here to kind of heal the ancestors, you know, and I knew that, you know, I knew that I was going to have to, like, you know, dig through all this stuff in my genes, you know, and that's what I did, you know, and I dove right into it. And no part of me was, you know, it was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this right now. And I am going to be the one. I called it out. I was like, I raised my hand to my ancestors and was like, me. It stops with me right now, you know? And so that was kind of, you know, this, everything that I have done up until this point was for the benefit, you know, for my whole family, you know, and for my mom. And I really, the whole reason why I even got into Reiki was because I wanted to be able to pass on Reiki attunements. And my first Reiki attunement, once I became a teacher and a master, I did it for my mom. I attuned her to level 1 and level 2. And it was because I felt a sense and a duty I wanted to pass this on to my mom. I wanted to help her heal, you know? And so that was, you know, in itself, I mean, that was the drive into wanting to do Reiki was, you know, to heal myself and to heal my mom and to help heal, you know, everyone that came before us. And so it was incredible. And I wouldn't change anything that's happened to me on this path at all. Not one thing. I do not regret anymore. Not one single thing. I cannot for myself, because it was all completely necessary. You know, I know that before I got here, I know this very clearly. I wanted to bust through and just do it all. The rest of whatever was left, you know, it was like, that's it. I'm coming in. We're doing this journey. I mean, a lot of people, and my mom knows this, a lot of people, I don't know if I've actually told most of my friends this, but I actually have memories of before I was born. And
cool. I've only met 2 other people that have told me that.
Oh yeah. No, I can actually even still see it. I can still see the tube that I came down. I know that sounds really weird.
That sounds so, like, for me, because they always show me the soul dropping in, like, to the body that way, like, via birth, and then, like, all these ancestors around, and, like, that's why we don't get a lot of our memories till a little later, because we're so held by spirit. So they show me things, like, you know, psychically from a different end, but I see a tube sometimes, so I'm really glad you said that.
Yeah, so it was like I was gathered around, like, all these people were around me, and everything was very bright, and it was like, okay, you know, get ready. And it was like I just remember, you know, being dropped down, and it was kind of like fear, not a fear, that's the wrong thing. It was this excitement, but like I don't know how to explain it. It was this,
probably like jumping out of an airplane, like you want to do it. excited, but whoa, like I can only imagine.
And my thought was, I'm going to breathe like for the first time, and so it was interesting because when I had gotten in my car wreck, my near death, I remember when I came to, the first breath I took hurt. And because it was, it was that first breath, and that's, what I remember when I was born was that taking that first breath, and it's this painful experience, and it tingles throughout your whole body. So, it's like, I've always had these moments of where I've been brought back to the moment of when I was born, and I remember kind of going in and out, as a kid, going in and out of my body. I was always kind of traveling around, and
okay.
Yeah, it's like you kind of you're there and then you're not, and then you're there and then you're not, and you're vacillating back and forth, between here and there. And yeah, I mean, it was a really incredible experience, and to have and still have that memory, of all of that. And so I knew that my journey here was going to be around just, really cleaning up. Like I was going to clean up stuff. I was tying up loose ends, I was making everything come full circle. And that once I was done with this, I could go on to the next level and be a teacher on the other side. And so I know that. And I think that's why, I chose not to have children, and kind of not do it, because I already have in my feeling in me, I already feel like I've already had the kids. I think I already have, I have all this stuff. I have, all these things. I don't need that here this time. This is about clearing up and cleaning up and repairing and doing what we need to do in order to move on to the next thing. And then, also having a connection with my mom. I know that my mom and I this was pre-planned, predestined. We've been together for many lifetimes. I had felt that. We are here to do amazing work, and we have. And that's the thing, is that we've done some incredible healing work together, and just in healing our own relationship was this feat, was this accomplishment, and to do that together has been, she is a part of me in every sense of the word. And I feel like we are the same person, in a lot of different ways. So, I love her more than.
I have a very similar relationship with my mom, and around this. Oh, you there? Back up a little. There we are. Yeah, I was just saying, I have a very similar relationship with my mom, and I honor it so much, and it's so much a part of this sacred journey. And, I haven't decided if I want to have children or not yet. I'm kind of open to it, but it's not something I feel very similar to you. I've done it in so many lifetimes. I probably have starving children out there already and stuff, and it doesn't press on me, but this healing of my lineage does, and it always has. And and I've looked at my family so sacredly, and there's been so many ups and downs and battles, and addiction especially, but the mother and daughter relationship, it's one of the most complex of all, but it's also this path of healing that a lot of us choose when we incarnate. And I've done the same thing with my mom so many lifetimes, and sometimes I'm the mom and she's the daughter. Sometimes it goes the other way. Typically we tend to pick a mother-daughter relationship though. And as we're approaching Mother's Day weekend here, or it is Mother's Day weekend, tomorrow is Mother's Day, I really encourage our listeners to take a step. I learned from one of my favorite teachers, Rebecca Campbell, who I reference all the time at Rise Sister Rise, which my mom came with me to because I broke my ankle, and she was like, I don't really want you going to this thing by yourself. And then that was awesome because it opened up a whole world for her. But she really brought light that if we're going to heal Mother Earth, then we have to start with the relationship of our own mothers. And we've got to acknowledge their sacrifices, recognize their journeys, and open our mind to the possibility that there was a reason we chose her to come in this world, and that helps us to come around to forgiveness. Because, our parents, no matter how, shitty your experience might have been, were doing, the best they could with the knowledge that they had at that time. And it's a really important and pivotal part of the spiritual journey, I think. And I'm really glad you're bringing a lot of light to that today.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's been, my mom didn't have a relationship with her mother, and, you know, she was abandoned by her mother. And, you know, and so, you know, a lot of times, you know, through that abandonment, you know, parents will kind of abandon, you know, their children, you know, and my mom didn't do that. My mom did the exact opposite of what she was raised with. And it to me, it was like this perseverance, you know, she just worked through all this crap, you know, to like not be how, you know, not turn into her mother. And, you know, and then, you know, our journey, you know, I had a lot of health problems as a kid. I was born partially deaf. I had all these problems, you know, and then, you know, our communication wasn't that great because I couldn't hear, because I couldn't talk. My mom didn't know half the time what I wanted, and I didn't know half the time what she wanted. You know, I mean, it was like, it was this real, like, you know, this thing, but, you know, she did absolutely the best that she knew how to do. And then, you know, and we had to take a break from each other for a while, you know, for a couple of years. And it wasn't until, you know, like 7 or 8 years ago that it was like, all right, this can't go on. We got to get back to, this is my mother. This is the person who, you know, who actually technically wasn't supposed to be able to get pregnant at all. And, you know, and she knew like the day that she was pregnant with me, you know, I mean, and she was like, how is this even happening? And even the doctors were kind of like, wait, what? You know, this shouldn't be happening. So, you know, it was. I
can just see your little star being up there, like, I took that room, I'm coming.
Oh yeah, no, it's been, you know, I know for sure it was like, all right, we're doing this, and we're gonna get it, you know, we're gonna get it right this time, you know, and so that journey has been amazing. And then the amount of support that she's had for me through all my healing process, and, you know, even, you know, with the light language stuff, and, you know, and how proud, you know, she is of me and my accomplishments, you know, and that's all she ever wanted for me was to, you know, to like, you know, do the things that I'm doing, and to have that support has been absolutely amazing. So, and I know not everyone has, you know, the best relationship with their mom, maybe, you know, here in the physical, but for anybody that, I feel like for anybody that feels like they don't have that type of relationship in the physical, you can go to higher states of consciousness and connect with the soul or the higher self or the multidimensional aspect of your mom, right? And you can go in there and have that relationship and heal that, you know, and, you know, on this whole other soul level. I mean, there are other ways to connect to, you know, to these people, you know, to your parents, other than in the physical. And then some people just have too much pain surrounded by, well, you know, when I was a kid, my mom did this, that, and the other to me. And I encourage people to, like, when they have the problems with their mom or even their father, it's like, you know, I had to look at both my parents, how they were raised, you know, and it's like, okay, you're only doing what you were taught, you know, and it's not to give an excuse, you know, to, you know, whatever, to certain things, but it was like having that, like, seeing it from that perspective of, like, you're just a human being, you know, who had these things happen to you, and you don't know any other way other than what you're doing right now, you know. And it's, you know, it's a tough journey to take, but for me, it's been 100% worth it to do this with my mom, and to, I mean, we had a lot to heal, and we did not get along for quite some time, you know, and there was so much miscommunication, but it was on both parts. It wasn't just her, you know, it was me, and it wasn't just me, it was her. I mean, we both had to take a look at that. So, you know, it's important, I think, to have whatever relationship that you can have with your parents, you know, or with your mother. I think it's important to acknowledge and to honor, you know, the person who gave birth to you, you know. And I know that's so hard for people, but you know, not everyone, but I know it's really hard for some people. But
really, it can be, you know, and it can be a big wound or just sometimes, even if it's not the worst relationship, people still have a hard time thinking, like, I chose this. I don't understand that, but the more you sit with it, the more you allow. I really honor your mom and my mom so much because it sounds like they had some really similar struggles. And my mom intuitively knew, that all she wanted was to have, like, she knew she was going to have a baby and she wanted to have babies. And that she wasn't going to let us cry because her mom always let all of her and her siblings cry all the time. And, she came from a really physically abusive household. She said, I'm not going to let, a hand laid on my children, and I'm not going to leave them to cry all the time. And so she intuitively knew that would help. And this, is something I ended up studying in college via the attachment disorder or the attachment theory and whatnot, and the different types of attachments that we have according to how we were parented and how our primary caregiver cared for us. So it's all so incredibly important, but it's also so important to try to start coming around to that forgiveness, because all holding on to, pain and anger and frustration and hurt can be very, very sacred. And then it can also get to a point where we're holding on to it so much that we allow it to start to destroy our vessel a little bit. And there's so many different ways to start breaking that up and shifting that. You were talking, Marion, a lot about, releasing blocks little by little, and then another level of healing would come in and allowing that process to happen.
Yeah, it's not, that when you release those blocks, the thing is that you have to go through it, and you have to feel all the feelings, and you have to allow yourself to have those feelings. You cannot bypass it. It's this journey isn't always love and light. It's definitely has its moments, of like, whoa, wait a minute, are you kidding me? And, but yeah, I had to really dig down deep. And in order to release a lot of the, wounds, the deep wounds that I not only had from this lifetime, but from other lifetimes, and I remember I did a session with our friend Jamie, a biotuning session, biofield.
Yeah. Anybody listening, Jamie Williams, a quick little plug. Anybody listening out there wants to experience biotuning, Jamie Williams at Sacred Vibrational Therapy is a gem and amazing.
Oh.
So let's just throw her out real quick.
Oh yeah, no, we did a session and we did we released some ancestral trauma. And I remember, we did it, and my mom goes, "What did you do?" She messages me. She's like, "What did you do?" I was like, "What did you do?" She's like, "You just did something." I was like, "She's like,
magical sorceress, you."
Yeah, and she's like, "I just forgave my mother." I'm like, "Wait, what?" Because my mom, had it was hard for her with her biological mom, and I was like, whoa, what? And, through that work, that I processed, it was like I cried. I deep cried. I don't know. I spoke, some ancient language around the whole thing, the whole session. And I realized, I was like, oh my goodness, this is, I was so yes, just this moment of oh my goodness. My mom's like, yeah, I just forgave my mother. And I'm like, that's where it's at, right there. That's the kind of work that my mom and I do together. It's so I had that really that most amazing, proud moment of this is what we came here to do together. We came here to heal and release this stuff, So yeah, I can't say enough about Jamie's work. You know what I mean? It's helped me through so much, and it's because of light language that I actually found Jamie. And we were friends on Facebook, but we had no idea that was going on for either one of us, And so when I finally got to meet her in Sedona, it was like, oh, this is it, So she's been an absolute inspiration to me on so many levels. And I've met so many amazing people because of her, like you, and connecting with some of the most amazing people. I mean, it's just, yeah, I love everything that's happening around everything that I've done. It's been this really amazing journey, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Neither. The more each and every day I get more grateful, and I just have zero regrets, zero, and every little thing, no matter how much I screwed up or this or that, like, I'm like, oh, I see how wonderful that was and what a good opportunity that was. Earlier, even, you were talking about healing through the eyes. And, like, I always come in with such an angel perspective, which obviously can really piss off, like, my friends and family all the time if I'm, like, putting positive spins on things. But, like, this mask thing, I'm like, okay, this mask thing is weird and it sucks. But at the same time, this is such an opportunity to look into the soul and for people to really connect on a much more intimate level. And you really can communicate through the eyes if you allow yourself to. And I was, like, getting so excited. And I remember telling one of my friends, she's like, oh, God, Mandee. I was like, sorry. But there's so many opportunities right now, and it just depends. And when you choose to follow what your heart wants most and not what other people think or might think, and you follow these soul crumbs that Marion was discussing, then it leads you not only to your light and your passion, but your soul family and friends too. This is not our first rodeo, sisters and brothers who are out there listening. You know, so many of us have done magical things in many, many lifetimes, and now we're here for this, like, nice big show.
Yes, we are. And I agree with the eyes. The eyes have so much to tell. And if you watch someone's eyes and you look into them, I mean, right now we're in this culture where we don't look into the eyes of other people, you know, enough. And we don't even look into our own eyes. And that was one of the things that I had to do with my light language, was that I had to practice in front of the mirror and I had to look myself in the eye and do this stuff in order to really, you know, because it was like, wow, whoa, wait, what? You know? So, yeah, I mean, it's, I am also another one that has a positive spin on things, and it drives people crazy. I have a friend of mine that can't stand it. She was like, I can't stand how you turn everything into a positive. And I'm like, well, I just have that ability to take a look at the bigger picture, you know, for myself and kind of, you know, do the observer thing and like, oh, you know, and then, you know, and it's that whole thing. And I had to practice doing that, you know, kind of taking myself up out of, you know, judgment and, you know, not going one way or the other, but just observing everything that was happening and seeing that, you know, everything at 360 degrees, you know, and it's, you know, it's not to say that I'm always, you know, like, you know, everything, you know, like the whole, oh, everything's good. You know, it's not always like that. It's just that I'm able to see, like, well, don't you see this is happening because of, you know, for this reason? Like, if you take a look at it this way, you'll see that this is benefiting you in the end, you know? And so I think it's just, we just need to shift our perspective. And I always tell my friends that, oh, what do I do? What do I do? And I'm like, you need to change your narrative, because like a lot of people have that thing running in their head in the background, you know, constantly getting down on themselves. And like, you need to change the narrative that's happening inside. You need to take a step back, and you need to be able to look at the full picture and just see that everything that's happening right now is for your benefit in some shape, way, or form, you know. And I don't force people to try to look at things like that, but if you're going to like text me or call me and you want my advice, I'm just going to give it like it is, you know. And it's like, well, you know, if you don't want me to co-sign your stuff, then I'm not the person that you want to reach out to.
Yeah, my friends know that about me now too. I'm like, well, you know how I roll. I can't help myself here. But I'm the same way, and I zoom out. Now, we are getting towards the end of our show. Is it possible, or would you be willing to share a little light language with us today towards the end of the show here?
For sure.
And my other question is, can you set an intention for light language, like healing the mother wound, or do you just like to let it organically come through?
I can do either. So I can set intentions, and I can also, we can just let it flow for, you know, or, you know, I can let it flow, but I can definitely set an intention for helping, connecting with the mother, the Divine Mother, healing the mother wounds.
Divine Mother artwork and Mother's Day weekend, you know, I thought it'd be nice to throw a little extra love that way. I just want to take about 45 seconds or so to play a quick commercial and give you a second to set up. And I want to thank all of our listeners, because we'll let Marion end our show with her light language. And tune on in, subscribe to us, like us. We are Heart Over Ego Radio. You can find us on all major podcasts. And here's a little commercial. And then right after that, Marion, when this is done, you take the mic. All right, sister?
Okay. Sounds good.
You are listening to Heart Over Ego Radio. We are a network of shows with a lineup that's sure to raise your vibrations and guide you into your best life. Tune in on Sundays to Everyday Psychic Radio. On Mondays, it's the Alchemy Sisters. Tuesdays, it's Radical Spirituality. On Wednesdays, it's All for One is Love. And on Fridays, take a listen to Rain Radio. Amazing shows produced just for you 5 days a week, only on Blog Talk Radio. This is a Heart Over Ego radio production.
Okay. All right. So with light language, it's always best to listen with the heart and not with the mind. So I encourage everyone to get comfortable, and you can close your eyes or you can have them open, and just to take a couple breaths in and out, and open up that heart center. And we will begin. Asua taluar matikurma tar. Tialukum tasutur kiatatur fatalit. Tiasanu maletur. Yakar kiatanulu ad matarfasu. Tiatar maria kurbaletru sate. Travasunru kurmalat. Harmi kumata tiakwaya. Layanur patuku. Vasialu tarmatar. Puamatiataya kama. Talarini autur. Yanunukua. Parfanaru sur. Tervasunur matrietula. Kalani mia. Haluamas. Turmayata satala e. Kuata. Nyayakumatar futua. Tialu Tarafasukua, Jasanale ut, si, tukua. Ushi layar ureti, malo enariaki, tukua latia, parku dua masite jalu, barya nukura, tarfana sutua paya. Malutur kiamati diamana, tasutruukar, marfanana eti, parfanrosur, parfani kurs nietala, parvini okiama, tusu taramaya trasenane, tur, mai, kurmaletia massa. Blessings. All right, everybody rub their hands together, come back a little bit, take a breath in, take that energy in.
Oh, that felt good. Thank you so much.
Yes, that was a lot of opening up to the divine, opening up the heart, peace, a lot of flow. And that's one of my more favorite energies to bring through, because I bring through a couple, but that one for sure is a very heart-opening, very relaxing, peaceful energy.
Oh, I can feel it. I can feel like my heart expansion and vibrating. And actually, it makes sense probably because your palms are an extension, but like my palms were on fire the whole time.
My hands are sweaty too.
I know. I'm like, this is awesome. Do you offer distance sessions at all at this time?
Yeah, so I can do distance sessions, yeah, I mean, anybody can reach out to me through the Facebook Messenger app, and yeah, I do them, and I offer. It's usually about $90 for an hour. I can do activations and healings and stuff. So yeah.
Beautiful. We'll put we'll share Marion's Facebook link on our page. Thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your story and your energy and your essence and your light and that true gift. That was absolutely amazing. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so grateful, so very grateful. Thank you so much.
Oh, this is so beautiful. And thank you so much to all of our listeners who tuned in to this show. Please like us on Facebook, Heart Over Ego Radio. This page has a new, this show has a new page called Creating Heaven on Earth, Ascending from the 3D to the 5D. Sending all the love, all the mother's blessings out there. Thank you so much from our heart to yours. Have a great day.